Howdy. A week and a half ago, I had a computer crash. I actually wrote about it in a blog post I'm going to link to because it's going to relate to the blog post in a way. So I'll get back to that. Anyway, my computer froze 5 minutes before I had a conference call, and I was going to try to open up a file so I could talk to the people about this thing that I'd given them, and the computer decided to crash. It just totally froze up. So I did what most people do. I did a reboot, thinking it would reset itself, and it didn't reset itself, and it didn't reset itself for almost 24 hours. It was ugly. Luckily, I have a laptop, but I couldn't use the laptop because I hadn't used it in a while, and as soon as I turned it on, it decided to upload a Windows 10 update that I didn't realize it hadn't done yet. I assumed it had done it months ago, but it never did. So I couldn't access that. So I had to go through my tablet and my phone and do all this research to try to figure things out. And even when I figured things out, my computer didn't work right. So it was basically 5 days worth of mess that I had to go through to finally figure things out. So it was a week and a half before I got to write the blog post talking about it. And the blog post talks about 5 things you need to know if you're going to do a Windows 10 reset, which is what I had to do. And it didn't fix everything initially, but I eventually got it, so now the computer is set. However, I wanted to talk about that post in this regard. A lot of the internet marketers will tell you that the only way to do things like this is that you have to basically highlight the headers and talk about specific things. And that's the only way you should write it in order to get good SEO. Now, I don't know about all of that. What I will say is the way I did it is I decided on 5 things I wanted to talk about. It could have been 20. It really could have. But then again, I would probably still be writing. As it was, the article ended up being around 1,900 words. But I picked 5 things specifically that I'm not going to mention here because I'm hoping to get you to go and check out the article. Still, I brought up 5 things. And I talked about it in paragraphs. So I didn't talk about it in direct points. As a matter of fact, something I did different on this post than I usually do is when I went to one period, I used the word one rather than the number one. And I did that for all 5. Because 1, I don't follow what everyone else does. 2, I didn't want to have a header because it didn't fit. For instance, at one point I talked about having to do the reset. Well, I didn't have a way to just, have a one-line thing. So I basically had to cover it in paragraphs. Not every single story basically gives you a line that you can use. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. Now, if you're doing a tutorial, maybe that's a different story. But I didn't do a tutorial. Although I did explain certain things, like how to retrieve email if you use Thunderbird, which I do, how to retrieve bookmarks, how to do some other things. I mentioned some of these things, but this wasn't a true tutorial. It was an explanation of what happened to me and things that I want to tell you about. I talk about passwords. I don't talk about creating passwords, but if you look at the article, you will see I talk about passwords. And it's an important thing. Trust me, I'm betting that 99% of you and your friends and your family and your work acquaintances and people you haven't met yet that you're going to meet one of these days, if you had this kind of computer crash, you will find yourself in major trouble because you're not going to know what your usernames and passwords are. I would guarantee it. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying 99%. That's a bunch of people. So I'm saying this because there are those times when you should be allowed to break the rules, as it were, and put out a piece of content that is still going to be helpful to people or still going to entertain in some way. I wrote an article many years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, where I said, I'm not going to be Neil Patel, and I'm good with that. For those of you who don't know who Neil Patel is, he is a major online marketer. He gets SEO with a passion. He does a lot of other things also. He's got a team of people that helps him, and he puts out articles that are sometimes 10 to 15,000 words. Ain't doing that. It's just not gonna happen. My biggest is about 5,800 words. I'm thinking that was probably enough for just me. No team, no one else doing the research, me. So that was enough. Anyway, I wanted to put this out there. I want to share my link to my article. I want to let you know my thoughts on what I thought was important. If someone else had written this, they may have picked 5 other things. Well, okay, maybe 3 other things. I think there may be 2 things on here that some folks may not think it's as important, but hey, it was my story. So let me know your thoughts on this video. Let me know your thoughts on the article. Let me know your thoughts on the problem that I had and how you would have addressed it. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I hope you have a wonderful day.